Hey everyone, welcome to the HeyHannah podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Maya Fields, but to my friends and those who know me well, I'm just Maya. I'm a higher education administrator, a mother, and a wife of 14 amazing years. But above all, I'm a Christ follower. This podcast is a special platform created to honor the memory of my beloved daughter, Hannah. It's here that I have the chance to have the conversations that I never got to have with her, to share the wisdom and love I wish I could have passed on. It's a reminder to cherish the precious moments we're given and a testament to the power of healing, hope, and personal growth. If you're someone who's seeking personal growth, inspiration, and practical advice to build a solid foundation for a successful and fulfilling life, this is the place for you. Join me as we honor Hannah's memory together. Laugh, cry, and learn. Get ready for a podcast that is so much more than you could ever imagine. The HeyHannah podcast, healing hearts, one conversation at a time. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the HeyHannah podcast. Thank you all so much for continuing to tune in and support the show. I absolutely appreciate it. Today we have Cori Myka with us, and she's the founder of Calm Within Adult Swim. She has over 25 years of experience in adult swim education, and she specializes in helping adults overcome their fear of water through a unique blend of mental and physical training techniques. I was just telling her before we started that this is a very timely conversation. I've mentioned this here before, so I will be a little vulnerable and sharing again. I do not know how to swim, and I know I really need to know how to swim. So it's very good to have Cori here today, and hopefully even I will leave confident enough to go jump in the pool and figure out how to swim because it's about time. So Cori, thank you so much for being here. I'm absolutely glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. And I'll start off with saying you don't have to jump in to start with. Just ease our way in. Ease our way in.
Just get my foot wet. I'm working on it. So just to kind of get into a little bit about all that you do, Cori, your work is all about helping adults gain the confidence that they need in the water. What first inspired you to focus on this particular area?
For sure. Teaching swimming is just a part of me. My first person I invited to learn to swim with me, I was 5 years old. It was my auntie on a houseboat, right? We're
That's
getting in and
amazing.
playing, and I'll teach you how to swim, auntie. So it's sort of been in me for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But it was when so mostly kids, right, in my developmental years as a teacher, because that's what most people think of. You said you put your kids in swimming lessons, right? That's what kind of people generally think of. But it was the adults that really pulled my heart because they were saying things different than what I heard the kids saying. And there wasn't the same kind of success with the adults that there was with the kids that made me go, something is different here. I need to come
Yeah.
about this differently. And so it was very interesting to me in that regard. And I can remember the first adult that I officially was teaching when I was teaching swimming. And she told me about her story of not knowing how to swim because she was a girl or a woman, at the time when she was young, and she was told she wasn't allowed to learn to swim because girls can't swim. It can't be athletic, right? It had to do with this whole narrative around women and bodies and athletics. And I thought, what the heck? And she knew that wasn't right because she knew there were other women, girls, who learned to swim that were her contemporaries. But just so it was very interesting. Like, gosh, there's this whole other narrative that goes
Yeah.
along with adults not knowing how to swim. So that's where it became very interesting and curious for me to see how can I bridge this gap with folks.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to hear as you were talking about that. It just made me think, so is there a significant population of adults who don't know how to swim? Okay, I didn't realize this. I kind of figured I was just kind of in an island on my own. So there's a community of us.
There is a community. I mean, it's at least 50% of the
No
adult
way.
population. Yeah, I mean, when Gallup poll surveys have done, it's like It's around 64, 65% of people who identify as being afraid in like deep water oceans and lakes. And it's about 45 that identify as being afraid in swimming pools. So that's why I say it's about 50% of the population.
Wow. I did not realize that there was that many adults who did not know how to swim. And a lot of that you mentioned people saying they were afraid in deep water or either in swimming pools. Fear can be really paralyzing. So that can be in the water and that can also translate over into real life. What do you think is the biggest mental block that holds people back from learning to swim and how do you help them push past that?
So the biggest mental, and I hate to call it a mental block, but it's a mental thing to understand.
Mhm.
Because on one hand, I mean, when we get out of the pool and you think about something like fire, you could say there's a mental block of sticking your hand in the fire, right? Because it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Or you could call it, a natural fear, a normal fear, right? A healthy fear. So there's a certain amount of putting your hand close to a fire, near a fire, maybe even brushing through for a finite amount of time that actually is safe and not a problem. This like you just don't want to stick your hand in there and park it in there. That's why we
Right.
have a system that says no, 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 not a good idea. So in swimming, similar, it is okay to be underwater. In other words, it is okay to be without air, but
Yeah.
for a short period of time, for a defined period of time. So it's
Mhm.
normal to feel fear if you can't get air,
Yeah.
right? So this is normal, just like it's normal to feel fear about sticking your hand in a hot fire. So we want to like readjust that to be like, okay, yeah, it's normal that I have a certain conversation with this air. And so then it's okay, well, now how do I make sure at the core is I always need to make sure that air is always easy
Yeah.
because that's really at the root of the fear component. I mean, there's lots of other pieces and components, but that's like the deep root that I'm going to end up in the water, underwater. I won't be able to breathe and I'm going to drown. So that's the reset of the equation. Okay, I gotta really be responsible and know how to get air easily anytime I want. Now I have the freedom to learn how the water and my body work.
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm taking all of these tips in for sure. Let me ask you this. I'm curious about what percentage of the adults that you have taught swimming have actually learned to swim? Would you say like the majority of them catch on, or what's your take on it?
Yeah, the majority of them catch on. And the reason why is because we're teaching them this piece, we're teaching them the mental steps along
Mhm.
with the physical steps. Now, where somebody ends up in the physical steps, let's say, we have a foundational class. Everybody's going to end up in a slightly different place of what their actual physical skills are, but our focus is this, teach them to fish kind of idea. And so it's really teaching the process and so that somebody can continue to develop those physical skills. And which is opposite of what most swimming instruction is. Most swimming instruction is teach the physical things
Yeah.
and hope that they catch up on the mental side.
Hmm.
And that's where people end up, in my opinion, end up unsafe in the water. And they also end up in this sense of like, well, I can do some stuff, but I don't feel like a swimmer. Like I don't,
Yeah.
something's still missing. Still don't know how to have that confidence. I still don't know how to have fun in the location I'm at in terms of my skill level. Yeah. So that's the big thing that we do differently and see different results for folks.
I like that approach because I feel like from an adult perspective, especially, you kind of have to have your mindset to you. This is something you can actually do. And that's why I asked you the previous question. And I'm hoping that people heard loud and clear, like as an adult, it is still possible to learn. You can teach an old dog new tricks, because you hear a lot of times when you go to tackle something, whether it's learn a new language or, learn to play an instrument, or do something as an adult, you don't get as much of a positive reception as you do when you're like, I signed my kid up for piano lessons. Like, no one tells you when you do that, your kid will never play the piano or they can't play the guitar. But, for an adult, there's not that same kind of like rah-rah environment. And
Uh-huh.
so it's really good to like kind of help shift that mindset by getting that mental portion taken care of. And hopefully, as I said, everyone heard loud and clear, it is absolutely possible if you were an adult to still be able to learn this skill. What's a breakthrough moment that you've actually witnessed when you are working with someone, they're learning how to swim and they've overcome that fear? And how did that really impact their life outside of swimming?
So, really big breakthrough moments come when people start to understand how to trust themselves and to
Mhm.
really slow down and tune into themselves. I mean, I love this idea where you said, yeah, you take your kid to piano lessons and we have a full belief that they're going to be able to do it.
Oh,
And as
yeah.
a matter of fact, when they first start plunking on the keyboard, we say, look at you, you're playing the piano. You're a piano player. Even though maybe they're doing chopsticks or maybe they're just
Right.
they're just discovering, "Oh, when I hit these things, sound comes out of it." We identify them as a pianist, not Chopin or Beethoven or something like that yet, but we know that's what's gonna take them to on that road.
Absolutely.
Kids are just so innately in their bodies and allowing themselves to discover, and so when adults do that in the water and they go, "Wait, when I stop trying to be like Chopin, when I stop trying to be like Michael Phelps, and I allow myself to be who I am right now, which is, just sort of like walking in the water, dipping your toe in the water, right? Seeing, oh, I can breathe when I'm in the shallow end and I don't have to freak out. Previously, I was freaking out because I kept thinking about the future. So when people make that aha moment of like, hang on, I can slow in and I know things and I can discover things. And that's what people take out into other areas of their life. Instead of being on the rat race of what you think you should be or where you
Mhm.
should or that all that shoulding on ourselves, right?
Right.
People are, hang on, it's okay for me to roll back and to really tap into me, tap into, where I am right now.
I imagine the level of confidence that comes with tackling something that you felt like, I haven't been able to do it all this time, but I was able to commit to it and actually do it. And then that level of confidence that just translates over. And I can think about personally for me how I navigate different instances with my kids, knowing I'm not like the best swimmer. And I'll say that I say I don't know how to swim. Like, I can pedal, but I can't jump in to save anyone's life. And
Mhm.
so knowing that if my children are invited to swim parties, my husband has to go because I need to make sure that if something happens, there's someone who can jump in there and save them. I just feel really like almost, I hate for lack of a better word, but paralyzed to an extent to take them to a swim event by myself, knowing that I don't have the full capability as a parent to do my job, do
Mhm.
what I'm supposed to do as mom. And I feel like that affects other areas of life. So I can only imagine how empowering that is for someone, just speaking from a parental perspective, who's able to like, okay, now this is another area of my life that I don't have to feel kind of one hand tied behind my back, so to
Mhm.
speak about. So it's
Yeah.
just interesting
I
for
talk
sure.
to I when we're working with adults and we kind of think back like why they don't know how to swim, it's very frequently generational.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a personal trauma and sometimes, it's about opportunity. But the one thing I like to let people know is parents can make two very loving decisions around swimming. And one is like the decision you made where you said, they're going in swimming lessons. I'm going to make sure that I don't, continue this. And that's one very loving thing. But you brought up a really important point that that's a really hard, loving decision to make because you don't know what to do. So it's
Mhm.
hard to send your children into something that you don't know and understand yourself. That's
Right.
really hard and brave. And that's why there's also, I give lots of loving room to people who decide not to take the, like, who say, I'm going to keep my kid away from the water and make them be afraid because that's another way to keep them safe. If they never go in, they're never going to drown. So both of them are loving decisions, but we make it differently. You're like, I don't want to continue this. I wanted to give them access to this area instead of having them be held back from that area. So they're both really loving decisions. Different whys, different pieces to it. But yeah, just really want to honor folks and how they approach it because that's really hard.
I love the way that you worded that. It's very true. They are both very loving decisions, and it is tough. I think as parents all the time we're doing the best we can with the information that we have. So I love the way that you did word that because it's absolutely true. What does vulnerability look like in your work, and how can it be a strength that someone can take on just really on their own personal growth journey inside or outside of the pool?
That's a neat question that nobody's ever asked me before. I love that. Um, I What comes to mind for me is the vulnerability. Something that we ask our students all the time is we say, well, we can do it if it sounds like fun. Here is an offering, right? Here's an offering. Another way might be to say, are you willing to experience this? And if you are, then great. If you're not, no problem. Because then the job is to see, well, we need to break it down smaller. Maybe you have something else you're more interested in doing right now. It just a no just means we need to change it up a little bit to find the place where it does sound fun or where you are willing to experience it. So while it's vulnerable in that you have to be honest and you are perhaps trying something new, that's where that willing to experience it piece comes in. I'm willing to like stay there and stay in it. But we don't want it so much vulnerable that you can't physically or mentally stay present to the experience
Yeah.
because you won't learn. And, at the end of the day, you're there to learn something. You're there to grow and change, not just to practice checking out. Because, we get lots of that in life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we talk a lot about growth here and self-improvement and just getting better. And I say all the time, every living thing should be growing. And so my vulnerability perspective came from a lot of times with adults. You hear this a lot with therapy, or people like won't ask for help. They won't go and seek help, or, I don't need it. Or there's a level of vulnerability it takes even like honestly say like I need help in this
Mhm.
area. And that's what you're doing with swimming. You're having to come to someone and say like, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? And then aside from that, be able to receive it. Like you're not the expert in everything. This is an area where now you need to go back and take the kindergarten seat. And for adults, it can be a little bit more tricky. Kids have that eagerness about them, and they're typically receptive to new information because they're taking it all in anyway. But it's a little bit more difficult for adults, and I just think that level of vulnerability has to be there to even admit like, "Okay, I don't know how to do this. I need to figure out somebody who can help me with this," and then sit back and be quiet and take the lessons and get your information, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I mean, I'm a classic, as many people, procrastinator, turn away, right? Like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it really is, it's very useful for me to really consider I just have to take the one step.
Yeah.
But, if you're like, okay, I need to go get some help with this. This is something I don't know how to do and I'm not quite sure where to start. So, the one step is to see, hi, are you the person? And then just kind of ask that question and get a little
Right.
doesn't mean you have to do it. Doesn't mean you have to do all of it, right? There's just that one step. And I think that's a bit where we can get hung up on. I know I can get hung up on that. Even, yeah, I went to the doctor just last week for a knee thing, right? And it's like, well, I don't actually have to do the procedure if I don't want to. All I have to do, I made the appointment. That was step one. I showed up to the appointment. That was step two. None of it meant I had to, you know, do whatever the other things are that were possibly on the agenda for that appointment. I get to make
Yeah.
the decision as I go along.
I love that. I feel like you can take that into so many different areas of your life. I think I heard someone say something similar one time. Maybe it was a book. They said, "What is the best next step that you can do right now?"
Mhm.
And it's very easy to become overwhelmed with large things, but you're absolutely right. Just the next thing. I don't have to, if I don't like it, I can change my mind, or, I don't have to go all the way to Z, but the next thing. I love that. I feel like that's so transferable. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I'm curious to hear from you because I'm sure you see a lot. Confidence matters if you're going to learn how to pick up swimming, especially. But any new skill, what's a common misconception about confidence that you wish more people understood?
Thing I wish people understood is that we have this idea that when I can do all the things, then I will feel confident. We think confidence is a byproduct of an acquisition of skills. And while we do, when we gain more skills and we increase our capability and knowledge, etc., confidence can grow with it.
Yeah.
But it's really looking for, I just kind of, I like people to tap into what is a seed of confidence that you can start with. Because that's where you want to be growing from your internal confidence and use that. Because the other way, you're always constantly chasing it. So, with learning to swim, it might be, one example, one way that we look at it is we'll say, well, do you know how to keep yourself safe around the water? And people say, no. And I'm like, well, have you ever been in or around the water? Yes. And it was terrible. And I had to have some, whatever the story. And I said, well, are you still here? Like, you're still here. Like, so if you didn't drown, like, so there's
You
something,
made it.
you made it. Yeah, you made it. And so, like, what is it that you can take from that that could be empowering? You're like, well, I made it because I only went in the shallow end. Great. You knew that the shallow end was the right place for you at that time. You know what your limits are.
A win is a win.
A win is
Take
a
it.
win.
Take it when you can.
Exactly. So we want to grow that instead of that narrative that says, no, I'm a complete failure.
Yeah.
No, there was a win in there. Let's find that win so we can grow that.
Absolutely. If someone's listening right now and they feel like they've been holding themselves back, what's one action that they can take today to start stepping into their confidence?
Well, we, believe it or not, we teach swimming online.
No way.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so because of these one of it is because of the mental pieces, and two, because we have an approach unlike any other that you're gonna find in your community center pool, so we bring it to people online. So I would say come check us out at adultswimlesson.com,
Okay.
and you can start to jump into sitting at home in your regular clothes. No one has to see you doing swimming lessons to get a new understanding of, how could I do this? What would this look like?
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that would be
That
it.
is a unique approach for sure. I had no idea that that was even a thing. How can our listeners connect with you, learn more about your work? And you mentioned the website. Are you on social media as well? Can you share that information?
Yeah, so we're at Calm Within Adult Swim is our handle on social media. That's where you're going to find us. Calm Within Adult Swim. Our website is Adult Swim Lesson. So either one of the places is a great place to get connected.
Wonderful. And as always, I will include that information in the show notes. So if you do not have a pen, you can look right below in the notes and you will be able to grab that information. And hopefully you can just join in some virtual swim lessons today.
Yeah.
Now, Corey, we end every show with the same question. So I'll ask you, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received or a piece of advice you would give to someone that you deeply care about?
The advice I give myself every day is keep it simple and let it be easy. That is our motto.
I like that. I like it a lot. Cori, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us, encourage us, and just give your wisdom. I feel like there was so much of our conversation. We were talking about swim lessons, but a lot of what we talked about, I feel like is applicable outside of the pool.
Mhm.
So thank you for taking the time to share that. Hannah's Hive, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you feel just as encouraged as I do about the information that was shared today. As always, let's keep the conversation going. You can find us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, and even Pinterest, all under Hey Hannah Pods. We're on all the socials, and we can continue the conversation there. If you are starting your own swim journey, share that with us so we can encourage you and support you in your journey as well. As always, I appreciate you all joining in. And until next time, everybody, take care.
And that's it. I'm out of here.
So much for joining us on this episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. We hope that you found inspiration, insight, and encouragement in our conversation today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay connected with us, be sure to like, subscribe, and review the Hey Hannah podcast. Your feedback helps us reach more people and spread our message of love and wisdom. You can also follow us on social media at Hey Hannah Podcast. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stay updated on all the latest episodes, behind the scenes exclusives, and engaging content. And for those of you who prefer the visual experience, catch the video versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Just search Hey Hannah Podcast and hit that subscribe button to never miss an episode. For even more Hey Hannah goodness, visit our website at www.heyhannahpodcast.com. There you'll find updates, bonus content, and join a community that embraces you with open arms. Your continued support truly means the world to us. Together, let's spread love, share wisdom, and honor every precious moment. Because here at Hey Hannah, we believe that life is meant to be lived well. Remember, a new episode of the Hey Hannah podcast is released every Wednesday, so mark your calendars and be sure to tune in. Thank you again for being a part of Hannah's Hive. Until next time, take care.
Entertainment.